I do it with coconut oil. I first heard about it by a guy named Dr. Bruce Fife, who wrote a book called, which I have right here, the oil pulling therapy, and he talks about it. You just kind of take some coconut oil. Bruce Fife talks about using coconut oil. That's what I use, and I love the taste of coconut oil. You just take a spoon of coconut oil and put it in your mouth, and it feels kind of interesting. It's got a nice texture to it, and it's got a really nice taste, and it does a couple really interesting things. Just put it in your mouth, basically. You let the oil melt in your mouth, and you just swish it around. Swish it under your gums, around your gums, between your teeth, and just swish it around. And there's some really neat things that happen. First of all, coconut oil is actually a kind of, sort of water-soluble oil. It's not really water-soluble, but it has a slightly water-soluble nature. That's the MCTs that we're always talking about. Medium chain triglycerides. MCTs are like a cross between a nonpolar and a polar substance. They're sort of a polar, a watery oil. And that makes MCTs unbelievably helpful. And by the way, coconut oil has a lot of these kind of crossovers, nonpolar / polar things. And that makes coconut oil really, really interesting in the world of oils. And that's why I consider it to be a safe oil. One of the reasons, anyway, I consider it to be a safer oil or an important oil. Because you get these MCTs and things like these MCTs that are sort of polar, sort of nonpolar. That's very valuable. Think about it. You got stuff that's polar, that's fatty, okay? That's important. You got stuff that's nonpolar, and that has its own importance as well. But the stuff that's a crossover in the middle, that's like having an interpreter that can talk two languages. That's like being bilingual. That makes you very valuable in the world of business, for example. If you can speak Chinese and you can speak English, you can bring Chinese people and English people together. You speak Spanish and you speak English, you could bring Spanish people and English people together. Well, in the world of chemistry, these kinds of substances that speak English and speak Chinese or speak English and speak Spanish are very valuable. Like in the world of business, interpreters are very valuable. They bring things together. And MCTs can bring things together, and substances in coconut oil can bring things together. That's why substances from coconut oil are very valuable for cleaning, for detergents. Sodium lauryl sulfate, the famous sodium lauryl sulfate, is partially derived from coconut oil, although these days probably different things, but originally it was partially derived from coconut oil. Coconut oil itself makes a great cleanser. People want to know what they can cleanse their makeup, get rid of their makeup with, or cleanse their face with. I always recommend coconut oil because coconut oil has some of these polar / nonpolar interpreter chemicals that allows them to kind of bridge two things together. Anyway, oil pulling is pretty simple stuff. If you use coconut oil, you'll get a little bit of the water-soluble cleansing effect, but you'll get a lot of the fat-soluble cleansing effect, and that'll give you 3 different benefits. And that's coconut. Well, it's pretty much any oil will do. Coconut oil is just so darn tasty. And anyway, we'll talk about this when we come back from our break and take your phone calls. 844-236-6010 is our number. Got some lines open for you. We'll be back on the bright side right after this. On the bright side, I'm pharmacist Ben. We do have lines open for you at 844-236-6010. If you're on hold, hang tight. We'll get to you just a moment. If you're interested in purchasing any of the longevity products, please head over to brightsideben.com or pharmacistben.com or criticalhealthnews.com. You can order products right off the website, or you can join the Brightside Ben team right off the websites as well. Or you can call the phone team 866-735-2470, 866-735-2470. And if you're interested in purchasing any of our Truth Treatment products, including our retinol 5% gel, go to truthtreatments.com, truthtreatments.com. Okay, so we're talking oil pulling. Just a couple more things I want to say about oil pulling. It's so easy. There's not much to say. You just put it in your mouth and swish it around. 10 to 20 minutes a day. You can do it in 2 10-minute sections. It sounds like a long time. It's not really a long time. Just go around, do your business, swishing the oil in your mouth, reading, writing, arithmetic, whatever you're doing. Don't swallow the oil because it's full of bacteria and it's full of bacterial secretions. So you definitely don't want to swallow the oil. Swish it around for 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes, whatever you want to do, 20 minutes, and then spit it out. And the first time you do it, you're going to notice some stuff. First of all, even if this is the coolest thing, even if you brushed your teeth and flossed your teeth before you did your oil pulling, you're going to find that you're spitting out little particles of food, especially if you just ate. And what that's showing you is if you did an oil pull, those are little particles of food that will be rotting inside your mouth, literally. Even if you brushed and flossed your teeth, stuff is going to come out when you oil pull that would under ordinary circumstances be sitting in your mouth. This is one of the reasons why 50% of Americans have gum disease and why we all have cavities, even though most of us brush our teeth. If these little particles stayed in your mouth, they would be ideal bacterial food. They would have got trapped in the bacterial secretions, they call it biofilms. And over time, it would be impossible not to have gum disease or not to have cavities. By oil pulling, you're going to be eliminating these particles, these bacterial foods, and that means less cavities and less gum disease. Second thing you're going to notice after you oil pull is that your breath is clean and fresh. And I'm not talking minty fresh, like Listerine fresh or mouthwash clean and fresh, which is basically flavoring agents, peppermint or maybe some oils, fake fresh. You're going to notice a clean, fresh feeling, not a taste really, because there's no taste. It's just that you're clean, which is how it's supposed to feel inside your mouth. And then the third thing you're going to notice, and this is over time, you're going to notice that your teeth are getting whiter because the stuff that stains teeth, the pigments, are fatty. Pigments are always fatty, and pigments are always sticky. The same sticky nature that pigments have that keeps them from coming out of our broccoli and Brussels sprouts when we're cooking or when we're eating. That's why you want to cook a little bit or heat them a little bit with oil. That oil-soluble coconut oil or whatever your non-polar stuff you're using, sesame oil or whatever, is going to pull those pigments off of your teeth. The pigments from coffee and from Coke, even cigarette smoke pigments, which can brown your teeth. So your teeth are going to get whiter. Now, it does take a couple of weeks to first start to notice it, but within a year or two of doing your a daily oil-pulling ritual, you're going to notice some significant teeth whitening. That's a lot of benefits. You're going to have nice, clean breath. You're going to be getting rid of food particles that would be bacterial food, and you're going to be getting teeth whitening, and it's completely non-toxic. It's completely gentle. It seems silly not to be doing oil pulling on a regular basis, in my opinion. All right. Tomorrow we'll continue talking a little bit more about polar chemistry, about non-polar chemistry, fatty chemistry, but then I want to get into watery stuff too. Watery stuff is also important. Perhaps not in the same way as the oil-soluble chemicals, fatty hormones and such, pigments and fatty vitamins and essential fatty acids and phytosteroids, but there's a really interesting, not only are water-soluble nutrients important to understand too, but there's a really interesting interaction between oil-soluble and water-soluble, and we'll talk about that tomorrow as we continue talking fatty hormones and the skin on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. Let's go to Florida and welcome Grace to the bright side. What's up, Grace?
Good morning.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm fine. How you doing?
I think I recognize your voice. We have talked before.
Yes, we've spoken before.
Yes.
I've called you before. Yes.
What's going on?
Well, two questions. One is real quick. Coconut oil, if you put it on your skin, does that stop your body from producing its own moisture factors?
Grace, you sound like a sharp cookie. You've been listening to the bright side. You're an esthetician though? Are you? No, you're not. No. You just know some stuff. Well, that's a question that tells me that you know what you're thinking good. You're thinking good there, because we said so many times that when you seal up the skin, you suppress your own moisture factors, right? Now, coconut oil is a very interesting substance in the world of oils because it's got a sort of watery nature to it. It's a cross, and not exactly a cross, but it's not cut and dry whether sometimes it's not cut and dry whether something's water soluble or fat soluble. Sometimes they're kind of in between, and it's coconut oil is such a tweener. It's in between. So it's not as significant a suppressant as, say, wax would be, which is like an ultimate in terms of fat solubility, but it's not necessarily in your interest to do it. Now, coconut oil can have a softening effect on the surface of the skin. Coconut oil also has vitamin E in it, and probably other phytonutrients in it as well that can protect your skin. And because it's kind of a cross between fatty and watery, it penetrates a little bit. So as far as oils go in the world of oils, coconut oil is probably the way to go if you're going to go topical, but it's not really the same as vitamin C, for example, or retinol. If you don't want to use vitamin C or retinol and you want just something that's kind of going to soften the skin a little bit and not be bad for you, not be toxic, go organic coconut oil, absolutely. But it's not, you're not going to really create skin changes as much as you'll create some perceptual, superficial kinds of, create superficial effects. No permanent effects, but you will get some nice superficial effects, and it's non-toxic, and especially if you go organic, you're not going to have any really negative effects, and the vitamin E and the MCTs will also give you a little bit of benefit. Does that answer your question? That's kind of a long-winded answer.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
That's a good answer. Thank you. But my second question is type 1 diabetes.
Okay.
How do you help reverse that? Can you?
Yeah, of course you can.
Is a ketogenic
Absolutely.
diet good for that?
A ketogenic diet is good for everybody. The ketogenic diet is basically a coconut oil diet or a fat diet, and it's really good for everybody. In fact, that's the diet that I talk about on this program all the time. Not a paleo diet. Paleo is just marketing jargon. I don't even use that word paleo. That's a stupid word. But ketogenic, that's science, and that's some there's some really good science behind the ketogenic diet. A ketogenic diet is a low carbohydrate, high fat, they say moderate, I'll say high protein diet. So you want to focus on protein and fats, and then you end up creating these things called ketones, which the brain and the heart in particular can use. So you can get energized without having to deal with all of the burdens of sugar. And that's the benefits of the ketogenic diet. Yes, ma'am, for type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, everybody, ketogenic diet. But here's the thing with type 1 diabetes, right? Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease. I'm telling you this, you guys, I know I say it all the time, but I want to be clear and definitive because there's so many different ones. Autoimmune disease. What is that weird sound there? Autoimmune disease is a digestive condition, period. Now, it can tumble out of control and affect other systems of the body, but it starts off with stuff getting into the blood. All disease is cell disease. All cell disease is cell membrane disease, and all cell membrane disease is dirty blood disease. And it's this dirty blood that is initiated via stuff that's getting into it through the digestive tract that causes all immune and inflammatory problems. Okay, we are back on the bright side. I am pharmacist Ben, 844-236-6010 is our number. We're talking to Grace. We still have Grace on the line here?
Yes.
Okay, so real quick, I want to get to a bunch of calls here, Grace. Anytime you have an immune problem, you have a digestive problem. That's, I don't know how much more clear I could be. We have 50 million Americans with autoimmune diseases, and these are basically lifestyle problems. And the misery behind MS and type 1 diabetes and myasthenia gravis and all of the different ways that we can have autoimmune problems, it is unspeakable. And it's so tragic and so unnecessary. Simply by fasting, you can go a long way towards resolving the symptomology. Yeah, obviously you have to eat again, but then just controlling how you eat and making sure you're processing your foods correctly. The microbiome, gut bacteria, control the immune system in large measure. It's our protection. Not only that, but once you get breaks in the digestive tract and stuff starts to leak into the blood, this is where everything begins. Everything's dirty blood. The Bible says the blood is the life for good reason. The blood contacts everything. Once something is into the blood, you cannot help but be eventually off to the disease races. I'm sorry, Grace, go ahead.
The person that was teaching my brother how to inject his daughter, she's 12 years old, I was asking her about the ketogenic diet. She says no, because if she has ketones, that could cause her to go into...
She's not going to have ketones. Her body will make ketones, and she will not go into ketoacidosis. That's not true.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, exactly. So then ask her, how about digestive enzymes? Will that help?
Absolutely. Are you asking me?
No, I'm asking you because I hear you every day, and I'm like, this is
everything.
Work.
In fact, all she has to do is a food diary. Tell her to do a food diary.
Yes, I told her to do that.
That's it.
Start doing that.
Let her notice herself. This is why food diary is so important. And for you guys doing longevity, if you're in the business, or even if you just want to help people, you always want your patient or the person you're helping to be engaged in their own healing. You follow me, Grace? You don't want to be the savior on the white horse that's coming in and saving the day. That's a thankless job, and you're going to get blamed. You want your client to be engaged, so they see their participation or their complicity in their symptoms. And I don't mean that to blame the victim, and I know